Yeah.
Welcome everyone to Siddha-Vetha webinar series. So today I would request Mr. Magendran to introduce the speaker, please.
Very good evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam. It's a wonderful, opportunity to attend the weekly webinars. And dear listeners, we have been, listening to various experts every week on various interesting topics, and almost all the topics, are focusing towards the ancient science. And what are the various traditional ancient treasures, which we really cherish. And we want to really, take those treasures absolutely, to our next generation. So with that element, Dr. Shan, through this, Siddha-Vetha, has been inviting various eminent speakers, people from different expertise. And in that way, today, happy to introduce Mr. Rajesh Sivalingam. Mr. Rajesh Sivalingam is living in Herndon, Virginia, very close to Washington, D.C. metro. He was born and brought up in Kaveri Delta region, place near Kumbakonam. He has around 20 plus years of experience, rich experience in IT, into cyber security industry. Even though his profession is into IT, his passion definitely widens into various areas. So one of the core bigger area which I could say is the farming, especially organic farming. And he's a very, very passionate person, and is our good friend. I would say he's even a kind of gift to the universe, I can say, really, sincerely, because Thiruvalluvar says, Ulludundu Valvare Valvar Mattallam Toludundu Pin Salbavar, which means the person who does the farming are the real what to say. So the rest of the world always follows farmer, because the farmers are the ones who really feeds the world, right? In that element, even though he lives here, he is completely passionate about building various organic farms in various acres. He starts from the small home, whether I used to say here, through our Vision Garden at Every Home initiative, which is a US and Canada wide initiative, whereas Rajesh Sivalingam also is one of the experts there. So we used to say that it's not that whether we have space in our home to build our vegetable garden or not, whether we have space in our heart, that's what matters, right? So that way, he has a huge heart, and is completely passionate about the organic gardening, farming, and he has interest in collecting the seeds. Like Nammalvar, the natural scientist, says, Vidaigalé Nampera Ayudam, which means the seeds are the biggest weapon we have, and we should not lose all those traditional weapons. So with that front, he's also collecting and preserving, the various, native traditional, heirloom seeds. He has various varieties. At his complete basement, I could see the plants with so many seeds collections. And he's also continuously educating and encouraging the traditional, sustainable organic gardening in all his, with his neighbors, friends around, community around. And very recently, we conducted a very big seminar here in Washington, D.C. area, where he gave one presentations. Maybe I can share the copy of the link here too for those who are interested. And he has been helping many people in setting up the organic home gardens, and also mentoring in even designing the garden, setting up the organic community gardens, whether it is at your home or an apartment or a single family home. Doesn't matter, area doesn't matter, where you can always be, you can bring the farmer within yourself, right? So without further delay, we all have been, whether it is in the current generation or in the past generations, we all are the son of the farmers or son of the soils, we can say, right? So with that friend, I'm very happy to welcome our proud Rajesh Sivalingam, who is also the son of the soil. Happy to welcome Rajesh. The rest of the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Sean, and thank you, Mahendran, for introducing me. I really want to thank you, everybody. Even though it's too late, everybody, I see a lot of people wanted to learn about what is organic farming thing. I really happy for the people who is attending the webinar now. Like Mahendran said, I come from a farming background, but I never put my hands on the farming when I was in India. I always, my parents and grandparents used to tell, why don't you go and study? And we are studying with the farming, and I kept studying, and then I moved to a job, and then I moved to US here. Every time, even though I was not involved, I was seeing every single thing, the effort my grandparents did for the farming. I was helping them in a way, like not in, directly involving, indirectly going and seeing, visiting the farms, and every single thing they do with the farming. So everything came to my mind, but I never had opportunity to explore. I always thinking, I was always an assumption. At some point, I would go back and do some kind of farming, but that never came into reality. Then few years back, from 10 years back, I started thinking what I'm doing here, we need to really go there and try things. So that's when I realized maybe something we can do where we are, and start learning things. So that's where I started my little home garden when I was in an apartment, and then I moved to townhouse and single family. I did various things. I learned a lot of things. Farming or gardening in a different climate is not easy. I learned all those do's and don'ts. That's where I kind of realized the potential. A lot of people are struggling. Maybe I can be helpful to them to share my knowledge. So what are the things they can do and not to do. So that's when I started helping people around me for setting up their home garden, or with even a small townhouse or single family. There was an instant there was around 40 people wanted to set up a community garden. So they never had ideas, and I was totally happy to go and design, set up home garden, like a community garden for them. That's when I realized now there are a lot of people who are interested in doing gardening. They have a little help, and definitely it makes a lot of difference, because not everybody has their own experience when they connect together, and they're doing wonders now. The third year now, they're doing great things there. That's when I came to know about Dr. Sean, and then wanted to have a webinar to help and see where we can share my knowledge and make useful to you guys. Saying that, Mahendran, how do I share my PowerPoint?
You could click on the share button next to the participants.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to bring in my presentation here. So when you talk about farming, farming is not just what we think it's been done by big companies. It used to be a tradition, a way of life. Used to do farming in olden days. Somehow people have direct connection to the land, direct connection to the food they were eating. Slowly, that green revolution came by, and then those connections went away with the people, and then they start consuming, thinking that it's a good food. But eventually, after the green revolution, whatever happened, it happened in the name of protection, but it was not helping people. Instead, it was helping people in a way with the quantity, but not with the quality. So what happened after certain time? They all we seen with our eyes. When I was younger, we only had few people in the village with diabetes and other diseases, non-chronic disease. diseases. But now, after the Green Revolution, after we started using pesticides and then fertilizers, the more and more diseases started coming up, and then of course that medical industry has a treatment, but that's not the way how we used to live. We used to live in a completely safer environment than now. So that's why, like, organic farming is not just a business kind of thing. It's just like a way of life. So going inside the slide, some of you might know Tirumular, who lived more than 3,000 years old. He was saying in one of those verses, "Udambal ariel uirar arivar Tirambala meinyanam seravu matar udambai valakkum upayam arinde udambai valatthen uyir valathene." So he was saying in a different context, basically, to go to the spiritual stage, he has to get the body in a good condition so that he can grow his soul in a better way. But to get to the stage, we need like quality food. Anything we eat, we are now. So that's the food is the main thing for to grow healthy way. Same thing like Thiruvalluvar, the Tamil poet and philosopher. He even have like 10 couplets for farming. So one of them that he's saying, "Uravar kaimanangin illai virayadum itumina parkum nilai." Basically, what they're what he's telling here is, if the farmers if farmers are not doing the farming, even the people who left all the left to the ascetic state will fail. Basically, food is an important thing for the people, even for the saints. Otherwise, it's so that's the thing. So coming from Tirumular, so since I brought up in Kaveri Delta region, I had opportunity to in my current my lifetime, I was able to see how Nammal were taken that to the next level, like a lot of aspects. He used to work in a conventional farming institute. So then he realized at some point he realized there's something going wrong. So he quit the job and he started his organic movement, revolution, to teach the people to really to help the world. So he was so much into organic and sustainable farming. He always emphasized to save native seeds and traditional seeds. He done a lot of movements like against the chemical pesticides and GM crops. He was one of the main person in India who fought against GM crops. And he was helping people what went wrong in the modern agriculture. He was trying to fix it. Even at some extent, he took a bare land, which people considered nothing can grow there. He converted that land into fertile land by growing a lot of cover crops, changing the land into more fertile. And now, right now, it is a very high producing land, one of the high producing land. So the land is any soil can be converted into like a crop, cultivatable land, as long as we have a certain process to fix things in the soil. If you look at agriculture in the ancient Tamil country, that's one of the main occasion of Tamil people. Like way back, we can trace back our agriculture thing back to more than 5,000 years ago. Even then, it is one of the main occasion of the people. It's a way of life. It's not like a business, so it's a way of life. People cultivated their crops and they were sustainable. Everything was like end-to-end cycle. There were excepts in irrigation, carving, manuring, storage, and distribution. So they have an end-to-end cycle in agriculture. So even at some point we had like a lot of tanks and ponds interconnected to replace groundwater. So they're not only like looking at the crop cultivation, they're also trying to make the earth sustainable for the people who's living around it. So they built even like lakes in acres of land and harvest the rainwater and store and use it for agriculture. So that was one of the like a sustainable way of doing agriculture. So not only moreover the crops they were using were less water dependent. So he was Ramalwar was even like pushing people to use like a not monoculture crop, like polyculture crop, mix up crops so that farmers can get yield more. In our culture, we have the people classified the land into 5 zones. We most probably you know Kurinji, Mulai, Maradam, Neidal, and Palai. Out of 5, Kurinji is like mountain region, Mulai is forest, and Maradam is cropland. Neidal is Shishu, and Palai is mixture of Mulai and Kurinji. Maradam is like a cropland. That's the only one people created it. And the rest of the 4 is all natural. The cropland, people try to live around the river basin and try to make the land fertile. They were doing cultivation many years in a sustainable way, so that they can there'll be no dependency from outside, whatever in terms of fertilizer or any pesticide. Without anything, they were using a natural ways of doing agriculture. They used animals for the cultivation. Same time, they were growing not only food for the people, they were growing food for the animals that they use in the farming, and they also grow food for them. It's just a cycle. They were doing it there. So that's another major thing in our our ancient people had like more than 40 types of water storage system, whether pond or well, small or big. There are various types of. They learn, they master the technology in a way they can store water in different type of storages for different users, and then use it whenever they need, and also recharge the water table in their area where they live in. So they can take it back as a well or something when they need it. Even when there is a huge rain, they use the river water overflowing into subsequent small water bodies. So they take the water, if the river is flooded, they take the water and lakes to, there's various terms that I don't, basically it's a channel connecting to bigger pond, bigger, smaller and smaller. So they have a chain of thing to recharge the water so that they can improve the water table and help the earth. So this is the ancient thing, and modern farming, they all used a lot of machineries, fertilizer and pesticides. So basically the fertilizer came into picture when after the Second World War, when there was a lot of ammonia left, ammonium nitrates left. They don't know what to do with it. So there's somebody, some scientist brilliantly asked to use agriculture crops. So they seen some improvement. So that's when it was introduced to the farming system. So they were bringing that to the farming system as part of the Green Revolution to support more people to grow more food. In that point of time, it was so convincing. People took it, and we were solely depending on people who give the inputs. So a lot of farmers don't even know what it was. So they were thinking fertilizer will help them, and they started using it, and they started using the pesticides. Once you put the fertilizer, the crops need more water. I mean, you can even, in our normal life, if you eat a lot of fertilizer is nothing but a salt. If you eat a lot of salt, you will drink a lot of water. That's one common thing, proverb kind of thing we say in our language. The same thing happening in the agriculture industry, because before the fertilizer introduction, we had a crop that can even tolerate the droughts, and it can live without a crop failure. But after they're using fertilizer, people putting the crops demanding more water, people irrigating more water, and then they lose the water table, and then there was a lot of crop failure. Even if you look at here in the US, if you look at lawn, somebody using fertilizer, the lawn will be so green. It's hot summer. If you don't water the lawn, all the grass will be dead. I have my personal experience. I don't use any fertilizer in my lawn. My lawn will stay green at somewhat, even if I don't water the lawn. But the people who overuse the fertilizer, their lawn will be, if you don't water it, even for a day or two, the whole grass will be dead. So that's a typical example of what will happen to if someone uses the fertilizer. So they also, on top of fertilizer and pesticides, because they were triggering a lot of green growths, so a lot of pests started attacking it. So they had to buy pesticides to protect the crops they were growing, because that was recommended by the specialists who were helping them to grow. On top of fertilizer and pesticide, hybrid, they were developing a lot of new varieties on the crops. They were developing shorter and shorter varieties, and then to reduce the crop cycle and also duration. And they were also genetically modifying seeds as been used to increase the yield. That again, they were saying this will improve the GMO seeds. Hybrid seeds are used to for various reasons, for a disease tolerant or test enhancement and different ways they were using it to increase the yield. But it did increase, but also at the same time, it brought a lot of new diseases to the people and living beings who consume that food. They always test these things in a rat, but they never test anything on the human, which is not allowed. So testing on rat versus human is completely different, because we are not the same species. So they just test something and they get clearance and then move to consumption, public consumption. So that is another thing happened with farming. So they had somehow, because of the technology, they had a better water irrigation like drip and other systems. We always use flood irrigation. When the water is scarcity, these things are coming in hand in hand. Certain things can be used for organic farming, but not the dangerous ones, like fertilizer, pesticides, kind of thing, GMO seeds. Like I said, the ancient farming, and more of them, people are using that for cultivating crops. So man learned farming from the nature, because I'm just saying it's only like one, but people there even before they were learned from the nature. They are trying to mimic how the nature is doing things. So they were trying to do the same thing, like how in forest the leaves fall on the ground and decompose, and it get nutrients to the soil, and then the seed on top and goes create a new crop. So it's the same thing. Man learned those techniques and brought it back to the crop line, and they were doing it the same way. Even though like I said, he grew crops on the field. So the 1/3 of the crop goes to the land, and the middle portion goes to the and the cattle, and then the top portion goes to the people, the grains. Even after eating, the cattle eat the crops, and then they bring in the manure back to the field. So most of the thing has been back to the field, because he's putting more than the majority portion back to the land. So he's fixing that nature. He learned the technique. He was using that for a very long time in the ancient farming methods. And moreover, the ancient farming methods were sustainable, meaning like there were no external intervention needed, like fertilizer, pesticide, and other things. They were in a simple cycle. People regenerate things and put it back and regenerate. So there are a lot of components to the biodiversity. The biodiversity is key to the food security and nutrition for all. Not only the way the food is grown, it's so nutrition to the like whether the cattle people consume it. The nature way of growing things is a very healthy part. Moreover, the ancient farming has been practiced for over 1,000 years, and now use of synthetic fertilizers. Using moreover, people, every part of the world has like a different climate. When people cultivate something, they come up with a native seeds. That seed is suitable to grow in local climates. So that seed will learn things over time and time, and then it will adapt to the environment, the new environment. So using traditional or native seeds is always good for the local climates when compared to the GMO or hybrid seeds. The GMO and hybrid seeds, they demand more than we have. So that's when we have to push our limit to make it a success. So we've seen like what is ancient and modern farming. So modern farming is efficient but has many harmful side effects, drawbacks. That's something we need to think about it. We need to somehow integrate both and see create a safe farming using the traditional way wherever possible. Traditional farming is natural and safe, with a good quality and less quantity. It's always in the modern farming is always talks about quantity, not the quality. But traditional farming is quality of the food has been concerned. So that's where we need to. There are pros and cons, but we need to, when it comes to health, ancient or traditional way is the best, and then we can incorporate any of the modern methods like irrigation, whatever the areas we were lacking of, and we can introduce those methods to make it success. And we come back to the seeds. We talked about the land types, and then we talked about water needs, and then we're talking about seeds now. Dr. Namma, he always used to say, seeds are the very important thing. The people who own the seed, they will be the rich in the future. So there is always demand for the native traditional seeds. People, after the moment he started, people are realized, and then people started growing the native seeds. Whether it's paddy or any crop, there is a reason why the native seed is better. They have a different nutrition level and better glycemic index, so that's where it helps health in a different in a certain way. So, and moreover, our genetically we are programmed to for those seeds, and our bodies can easily understand the food grown from the seed rather than the conventional GMO or hybrid crops. Also, when you talk about seed, there is something called heirloom. The heirloom is that's what a native I meant. Passed to generation. It has a rich flavor, and the local, it adjusted to the local weather, and it also preserves the genetic diversity. So it has its own genetic diversity, and it's been preserved there. So when you see a seed, when you collect a seed, make sure it's a heirloom seed, so that has no royalty whatever. So the hybrid seed has royalty, and you're not supposed to keep, even though you buy a seed, you grow, and you're not supposed to keep it. It might have a royalty. So heirloom seeds are like basically it's in the software industry we say open source. It's an open source seed. Like you can keep it, you preserve it, and you can exchange it with the people. So that is when they produce the heirloom seed in an open pollinated field where pollination happens by itself, and then the seed grown is like true to the type, basically the same flavor and everything carried to the seed, and then it generation after generation. So that will basically resistant to the diseases in that case. And moreover, that some seeds are like treated meaning they can be coated with fungicide, herbicide, or growth hormone or fertilizer. So those seeds, when it comes to organic farming, we need to use untreated seeds, so that it not even directly or indirectly, we don't want to bring in other things to the field that will contaminate field what we grow crops. So now we come to we see in like land, water, and seeds, and we need to understand why what and why organic farming, what is GMO. There have been a lot of terms to in the organic farming industry, so that's why we need to understand. Even though it's organic, what it meant to be like a sustainable organic farming, what it makes a difference. So what are the benefits of organic farming? We're just going to explore. Organic food is nothing but grown from organic and heirloom seeds. They use plant or animal manuring, basically plant-based compost or animal manure. Weeding methods, they don't use herbicides, they use mechanical or manual weeding. Biological pest control. There are ways you can control the pest. We have to see what are the beneficial pest you can bring into the farming, so it can take care of the pest that is eating the plants or crops. So in the organic thing, we don't use like artificial fertilizer or synthetic pesticides or non-GMOs seeds. So if organic food includes all these things, it comes to the. There are some common crops being grown using GMO technology. Like I said, GMO can be anything. Basically it's been inserted into the genetic gene level. The herbicide might be inserted, or maybe a future, they change the future of a gene. In case of Arctic apple, there is a protein they inserted, and it keeps the apple not getting brown after it being cut. So there is various things that they can introduce, not only future of changing the future of the apple, but also in corn they use glyphosate, like it's a herbicide. So when they spray, when they insert it into the gene, and then when they spray the herbicide from the top, the plant thinks it's its own gene, so it don't react. But other crops die. So it's a glyphosate is one of the topmost herbicide used in most of the countries here. These are this is not the final list. These are the common crops: soybeans, cotton, sugar beet. Sugar is 80% of sugar comes from sugar beet that we use refined sugar. That's all like they enhance the variety to make it better, more sweeter, and then they grow and make sugar out of it. Soybeans, I mean, they use it for cattle feed. So a lot of things they sometimes they create a variety resistant to the disease. they introduce inside the genes some beneficial bacteria that will not that will fight with the bacteria when it comes from outside. So again, it changes country to country, and this changes every year. There is always a lot of things in the pipeline to be introduced. So just keep eye out on GMO crops, what is being introduced, and make sure you grow native and column seeds. And we know what is organic food and organic farming. What is sustainable organic farming? Basically, it's a method of growing crops that can sustain itself without requiring many outside resources like pesticide, herbicide, things like that. So it's like a cycle. We can sustain itself without bringing a lot of things from outside. That is meaning, yeah, doing that way of organic farming is called sustainable organic farming. There are a lot of ways. This is not a finite list. There's a few. I just put a few to know the terminology. One of the thing in sustainable farming, you save a seed for next crop. So you don't go and buy out every time you want to crop. So in back in days, I even remember when my grandparents harvest yield. First thing they do, they select the best crops, and then they save it for the seed for the next season, and then they test it just before a month of the season that we want to go. So that way they make sure it's been saved properly and can germinate, and then they can take it to the field. They can trust the seed to take it to the field and grow more. So that is the sustainable that we had our ancient system exactly the same way what it's been said here. So we are doing everything right, but is it bringing? I mean, there is in the US there's something called food. I mean, throughout the world there's something called food miles. What I was seen in the previous slide, it can be done in way away from where we live. So that is not a sustainable organic. It can be grown in organic way of things, but if you grow there and bring it all the way here in a long distance in a truck or in a different transport or ship, anything, that's not sustainable. You are hurting the planet more than it's supposed to be. So we are pushing our limits to that system. That's why, in average, the food travels 1,500 miles in the US to reach our plate, even more than that. In this average food in the US, but sometimes we get food from all over the world. That's why we have to see to be sustainable, to do a sustainable organic farming, we have to do locally wherever possible, close by. So that way we can leave the earth not by pushing its limit. That it's only like borrow land from kids. So we have to leave something for them to make it more. And one more thing, what they do, like the way they've been picked and harvested is different. Conventional, in the food mill concept, they pick, even though it's grown organic, sometimes they pick things before it ripens, and then the ripening process happening when they on the road. So that's not the way. That not have enough nutrients, not all the nutrients that we need. So it's better we have a sustainable organic farming. That means somewhere local, closer to our proximity, that where we can go and get our food. So we come to the slide. We see all the terminology, and we see what are the benefits of the organic farming. Growing or one produce lets you control what ends up in a plate. You don't have to really do like a big farming. You can even start like a backyard home garden, or even an apartment or patio. You can do patio, you can do container gardening, or you can do if you're in a townhouse, you can do a little bit more raised bed, or different ways of doing it. You can somehow grow things so that you can control what is coming on a plate. And if you have more people, you can do like a organic farming bigger scale collectively, and grow more food for the whole community instead of growing just for us. So that will ensure we have food independence and food security and food safety. Food independence is nothing but you grow what you need, not just eat what you get. And food security is just another term Dr. Namago used to say. Food security is something, but when people need it, there should be availability. That's where food security comes in place. Food safety is safe food without any pesticide or anything. So in eating organic food, they could be rich in nutrients and phytochemicals and antioxidant vitamins, things. They can promote the health. Instead of getting more and fixing health, better we spend money on the sustainable organic farming and fix our health. Locally grown foods act as an immunity booster. We always say back in if you can reach whatever distance you can reach in a day, whether walking or bike, you can eat food. Meaning the locally beneficial bacteria are there in the air and the soil. That's going to be already in your stomach, and it's going to it's already your body knows how to handle that strain. So it's always going to be like good for your body when compared to the foods coming from long distance. Sustainable farming is going to be ecologically responsible and also reduce the food so less greenhouse emissions. So it's going to be less burden on the planet. Thank you for the time. If you have questions, we can.
Thank you. We're open for questions.
Thank you, Rajesh.
So what kind of food can we grow here in this environment, this Northeast?
Northeast, you can, what type of, it depends on how much space you have and what kind of sunlight you're getting in our space. Are we talking about a backyard, or talking about like a smaller farm type here?
Backyard.
So if you get a proper, I've grown in my backyard more than 60 to 70 varieties of vegetables, even including drumstick leaves, all the greens, all the tropical vegetables. You can Northeast, you can at least start growing from May to October. Even some greens coming in April last week to October last. You can grow more than 50 to 60 vegetables.
Yeah, thank you.
So Rajesh, thanks for sharing the information. The question I have is, so what happens after October? Will the plants or the crop, once you harvest, is it like gone and then you have to kind of reseed it every year?
Sorry, can I get the question back?
No, like every year, do you have to reseed it? Like after October, do you have to kind of plant or seed it again every year?
Yeah, when it comes to tropical vegetable in the Northeast, if you're in the south, down south, the crop will survive. For example, Texas and Florida, kind of in a weather, or California. But if you're north or Northeast, the crops will go off. You have to like reseed. That's where you can collect your own seed end of the season. and you can regrow them, plant them. If you have extra, like if you are willing to put extra food, you can even start the crops in March in the indoor and take it outside. That will give a larger time, so then you can get maximum out of the plant.
Okay. And one other question I have is, so have you explored all these green farms or the way to extend the life when in winter by using indoor or some other ways?
I extended my in my experience. I did a crop extension for about like a month time. Same thing in the beginning of the season and the end of the season, by using some frost protection cloth. The tunnel we just cover like a greenhouse type. It's since we live in a community, there are certain things are not allowed in the community, like greenhouse type structures. The HOA may not allow it. So what I tried is kind of a frost protection cloth that will make a significant difference when compared to the incident temperature around somewhere around 10 Fahrenheit. So you can, if it has 1 or few days that frost is coming, it can protect the crop. That means you can get extra yield, or even like start a little bit before the season.
Okay, and also, like, do you share seeds, or where do you source your seeds from?
I sourced seed in US here, all the any vegetable that we tropical vegetable or subtropical vegetable, and here, and then I make my collect my seeds every season from my garden, so that seeds are adjusted to the weather locally here. When I get the first year, I can see the difference in the seed the next year I'm getting. It's more stronger and more quality there. So I get my seed my garden every year and then use it in the next season.
Okay, thanks for your time and all your responses. Thanks, Rajesh.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Rajesh. This is Vani from Boston. In my previous years, when sprouting, the plant is just like 3 inches tall, and when we take outside to the community plot, it couldn't survive. So any advices like when to start sprouting indoors? And but when we get the saplings from shops, they are like, the stems are very thick and tall. So how to improve the growth of sprouts from indoors, please?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is one of the most problem that everyone is facing. That they grow the seedlings inside the house and take it outside and they don't survive. I do have the same experience. I thought it's going to be easy the first year. I had exactly the same things happen. Then I learned the next year the plants need extra support. Meaning, like, they need like artificial light source when you grow them inside. You can start growing plants like 2 to 4 weeks before the last frost time frame to your zone. Which you can check there in the websites. Usually in Northeast, in the Virginia area, it's like somewhere in the April 3rd week or 4th week. That means like we have to start our seeds here in March, mid-March or early March. We can start our seeds. Not every seeds we don't need to start inside. There are certain seeds we can start, like pepper, eggplant, tomato. The remaining seeds can wait. You don't have to start all the seeds. When you grow plants, when you see a first set of leaves, it's like it's not a real leaves. But when you get a second set, you need a strong light source, artificial light source. We should not put our seedlings next to the window. If you put it, the seedling is going to grow taller, and then it's going to go weak and then fail. So one, you have to have a light source until the plant. When you keep the light source 2 inches below the 2 inches above the plant, like a leaf, it's going to grow stronger stem, not grow taller. It's not going to seek for a light. And then second, you cannot take a plant. It's in a nursery, it's like a baby, right? cannot take a plant and take it outside immediately. You have to train them over a period of 7 to 10 days. It's a process called hardening up. So you take a plant and then just take it for 2 hours in the first day in a different, like a shade, semi-shade area. And then next day make it 3 hours and little bit sunny and then shade. And then like sunny little bit. And then slowly you practice, increase the timing to a day by end of the 10th or like 14th or 15th day. And then plant it and it will survive, 100% it will survive.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh, for the detailed explanation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, I think we're getting late. Today it was wonderful session, and hope everybody enjoyed. Well, we are planning to have a course in the first week of April. So people who are interested can register for the course, learn. It's a 12 weeks course, complete organic gardening, and we are even planning for short courses. So we'll let you know if you need short courses, say 3-day courses or a weekend course, something like that. So we are looking how we can you can learn how to how to buy, how to purchase, how to create your bed, where all to shop, what do you know about GMOs, all the techniques, and how you can efficiently do that in this country. So that's one of the things that we are looking for, and also Rajesh is also interested in. We are trying to get this as a course. Dr. Timaya is a senior scientist. He's the government advisor, national for Bhutan. Bhutan is one of the organic countries, and he's in our team. He's going to give the course, in the first week, and we are trying to now get the Siddha tradition from Rajesh and other other people like Revati. So we wanted to really bring this entire course so everybody can learn different things from different people. Plus, our courses are not just from one person's perspective. We look from different perspective. We call it co-realization. So we don't go by single person model like heroism. Instead, we look for collaborative type of things, including our research, including many of our courses are collaborative courses. So you can learn because each person's experience is very different, past, and when you share that, you can learn everything from different people. And some things fail in one person, other person knows that better. So that way you get benefited. So that's one of the theme of Siddha-Vetha Center for Transdisciplinary Studies. So you all encourage us so that we can sustain by enrolling for these courses, because these are very important. It's a valuable courses, and we are paying so much for our cell phone bills and many other things. For modern education, we are paying so much, and we are not trying to learn our own education system. And it's not only for us, it's for the whole world. But in the beginning, we need people to enroll and encourage these courses so that a lot of other people take this, then they will know the value, and you can become experts in this area, and you start to train others. So that's one of the things we are looking for, to create coaches from this organization, like how you have health coaches and wellness coaches, ancient science, holistic health coaches in different areas. So that you can use so much of cooking, and you're trying to do something else which really doesn't suit you. But if you know how to present that in a better way, like how the modern world is doing through research and other educational tools, then I think we can create a very good community, and it's a very self-sustainable community that we are already in, and we have all the supports from our own people. So, and this can be expanded all over the world, and that's our goal. And so I thank you in that perspective from Mahendran for bringing Rajesh. Mahendran has been doing wonderful work through vision to gardening. So we have been exploring for a long time how to get this done, and they have already been doing this. So I'm trying to reconnect with people who are already, instead of reinventing the wheel, so we can all collaboratively work together. So thank you, Rajesh, for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
And hope we can, hope we can introduce short courses quickly. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mahendra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.